Hi there, it's Mr. Clark. Welcome to lesson 12.1.3 on PLNH Operators. Um, so, all of this pitch wheel and tonic stuff is perhaps a little abstract at this point, so I would like to start tying it to some actual sounds of how chords are relating to each other. Um, for this section, we're just going to be looking at a very small segment of the tonic, the single major third diagonal. Call it a major third diagonal because it has D, F sharp, A sharp, D, F sharp. It's moving by major thirds. So the diagonal we've chosen contains only 6 chords before it repeats. We have D major, we have F sharp minor, we have G flat major, we have B flat minor, we have B flat major, we have D minor, and then we go back to D major. So we are now going to investigate the voice leading relationships between these chords. You may have already noticed we already have 3 major minor pairs of chords: D, D minor, F sharp minor, F sharp major, and harmonic B flat major, B flat minor. And we already have a word for this. D major and D minor are parallel. So we call this P for parallel. And visually, that happens by just flipping the third of the chord, D minor, D major. So that's just moving the third by half step. P transformation can work in either direction and can turn major to relative minor or minor to relative major. The next simplest relationship, you just take your major triad and you reflect it the other way. So we've reflected it across this horizontal line, but there's also a diagonal line that we can reflect it across. Change this D to a C sharp, again just moving by half step. And we call this an L transformation. We move the root of our major triad down to the leading tone of that major key. So D major, the leading tone is C sharp. So that is why it's called L. Not exactly, it's technically for the German equivalent Leittonwechsel, which translates to leading tone exchange, and, oh, sorry, you can't see that, Leittonwechsel. But if you want to think about it as leading tone, that's also totally fine. Like P, L is reversible, so if you apply L to a major triad, you move it down to that leading tone. If you apply it to a minor triad, you just flip it back up. If you want to access the other 2 major triads, you can just combine P and L. So P and then L gets you B flat major. I'm sorry, I just lied to you. L and then P gets you G flat major. I just said totally wrong things. No, I said totally right things. I just was showing you the wrong thing. So what I said was P and then L gets you B flat major, which is true. These are also inverses. So if you go P and then L, to reverse it and get back to your original chord, you'd go L and then P. So you just reverse them. Each operation results in 2 voices moving by a half step, so the resulting triad has only 1 common tone with the original. Because you've moved 2 of the voices by half step, you still have 1 that's in common. You might notice that there's 1 triad left that we haven't talked about, and it's specifically, colored in here, this one. It's B flat minor. It's unique because it shares no common tones with the original D major triad. All 3 voices have moved by 1 half step. You could call this PLP, so that would be parallel moving up here, leading tone moving over here, parallel moving up here, or LPL, they both get there. But for some reason, when you flip between a major and a minor triad, we give that a name, and when you flip between major, we just don't give that a name. So this does get its own special name, and we call it H for hexatonic pole. And, oh, there's a little footnote here. If you can't see that calling something a hexatonic pole is inherently superior, I can't help you. And this is true. There are many things I can help you with, but not that. So let's see what that sounds like. Ooh, okay, that's a cool sound. Hexatonic pole, hip. The H is also for hip. Notice that each voice in the original D major triad moves by a single half step to move to its hexatonic pole. So in a major triad, D, F sharp, A, your root and third move down, D flat, and your fifth moves up. If you started from your minor triad, then it would be the reverse of that, where your root moves down and then your other two voices move up, in case you're having trouble finding that triad. Again, H is its own inverse. If you apply it twice, you return to the original chord. Collectively, we call PLNH operators, and there's a handy table here that says how much voice leading distance we've moved in half steps, how many voices we've affected, how many common tones exist between the two chords, and whether the mode changes or not from major to minor. So again, I understand that this is still a little bit abstract. We have P, we have L, and we have H. But what good is this? And you may have felt this way when we were starting to learn Roman numerals. Like, why do we care what Roman numeral something is? But then we saw how it fit into the basic phrase model and how it could explain why some chord progressions existed. And that's really what music theory is trying to do. It's trying to explain why certain things happen in music and why composers make the choices that they do. So we're starting to just add some more tools to our toolbox. Might not be totally obvious what we're going to use these tools for yet, but I promise we will use them. So that's what's going on here. See you next time.